We'll focus on lower back today, but we will get lots of the body involved. As we always do before we get into the movement part, let's get ourselves into a comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you today. Looking for length in the spine, shoulders drop down, lightly drawn back. Have the chest open, the ribs tucked in, so they're stacked over the hips, chin drawn in, so it's stacked over the shoulders and ribcage. And can we take an exhaling breath? Just noticing if we've been holding on to our breath. Have a check in with our mind. How are our thoughts today? Fast, slow, positive, negative, loud, quiet. And then I've said over the last few weeks about your hand positioning. So if your head's really noisy and busy, maybe having the hands palms down to help you be more grounded. If you feel like you need to bring energy in, then having the palms up. And if neither of those things resonate with you, sit with your hands however is most comfortable for you. If you're happy to have your eyes closed, let your eyes be closed just to take away the visual distractions from round about. Notice how your weight's distributed through the way that you've chosen to sit this morning. If you find that you're struggling to get comfortable, do you need your back supported? And maybe that's by the edge of the couch, maybe that's by coming into a chair. As you're breathing in, if you can, breathe in through the nose. Try and send the breath down deep into the lower lobes of the lungs. It might help for you to place your hands onto the lower rib cage. And get this sense of the lungs filling from the bottom to the top. So if you're a chronic chest breather, you might find that as you're breathing in, your breath is kind of getting stuck in this upper part of the chest. When we slow the breath down and make that conscious effort to send it down into the deep lobes of the lungs, sometimes it can help imagining that you're sneaking the breath past the upper chest. When you're breathing out, it's up to you if you breathe out through the nose or through the mouth, whichever feels best for you. And if you are feeling in that kind of heightened, stressy state, the longer, slow exhale will help calm that down. If you're feeling in a more lethargic, can't really be bothered kind of energy, then the longer inhale is going to be more beneficial for you. And if you feel somewhere in between, then having the even inhale, even exhale might be the right rhythm for you. Just following the breath in and out, noticing how it's making you feel physiologically. So what's happening with your energy, what's happening with your posture, what's happening with the movement in your body, even though we're not adding in any movement just now. With each breath, we are getting movement. So there's this expansion as we inhale, as the lungs fill into the ribs fill into the tissues of the tissues of the body fill into our clothes. Observing any restrictions that are happening. Just taking another couple of breaths here. The end of your next exhale. If your eyes are closed over, gently flutter them open. Move your body in any way that feels right for you right now. If you need to have a yawn, just say it, make me yawn. If you want to have a stretch up, if you want to change the position that you're sitting in. Really tuning in, listening to your body so that we can respond to to our individual needs rather than waiting for instruction. We will go into our hand massage. So if you're using a cream or oil, popping some on. If your sleeves allow, maybe coming into the wrists and forearms as well. As we start to rub the hands together, can we consciously drop the shoulders back and down? Can we notice our posture? Can we notice our breath? Starting to collapse through the centre of the body, can we bring ourselves back upright? Just paying attention to how things feel as you work up each finger in the space between. How are your hands showing up for you today? What have you been doing over the last few days? So there's been a lot of gardening, hands might be tired, they might be tender. There's been holding on from the wind. You've been gripping onto the steering wheels or onto the children so they don't fly away. You might notice tension there. And observing how one hand feels compared to the other. And then when you're ready to, let's work the webbing in between the fingers, so one space at a time. So just pressing down, holding for a few breaths. Coming in from the palm side, also coming in from the top of the hand or the back of the hand side. Noticing how it feels. Maybe just spending a couple of breaths at each point on each space between the fingers to see if there's one that feels tighter than the others, and then maybe go back there and spend a bit longer. Now, in an ideal world, you would spend about 3 minutes in between each space. But if we did that in class today, that's all we would get done by the time we've done our hands and our feet. I have started doing this of an evening while me and Chris have been watching something on Netflix. I'm driving him mad because every 3 minutes my alarm goes off on my phone to say that's 3 minutes past. But there's definitely, and I've only been doing it maybe the last 4 or 5 nights, and I'm definitely noticing a difference in hand movements and feet movements. So when you've done one hand, over do the other. So if you are noticing that you are particularly tender in between the fingers, or when we go to the feet, to the toes, I would encourage you to maybe spend a little bit of time. And if you find that your fingers tire doing this, you can use a pen or a resistance band or a charging cable and use that in between the points. And just that, having something else to apply a bit extra pressure can help with more release. And once you've done all the spaces, and there's no rush if you want to spend longer here, link all the fingers in and try and press all fingers, so you probably won't be able to get the thumbs as well, but the other 4 fingers in those 3 spaces, press it in quite firmly. And then let's do the thumbs just by themselves, pressing both of them in quite firmly. And check that the shoulders have not tensed up around the ears, keep shoulders down. And then let's link the fingers, press the palms out, getting that stretch across the palms. And then press the back of the hands out, so separate the shoulder blades as though you're hugging a tree. And then let's link the fingers the other way and press the palms out. It'll feel a wee bit weird. You might notice tension in different places. And then back of the hands, separate the shoulders. And then link the fingers back the original way, bring the heel of the hands together and circle at the wrists. And in the other direction. And then link the fingers the other way one more time, heel of the hands together and circle the wrists. A few times each way. And then give the hands a shake off. Right, we're going to move to get into our feet. Adjusting yourself as feels nice. I'm just going to change my oil for no reason other than I didn't like the smell of that one today. So if your trousers allow, bring your trouser leg up so that you can get in around the ankle. Using any pillows or bolsters or anything, yoga blocks to support your hip as you get access to the foot. Again, we want to think about our posture. It's staying tall to check that you're not collapsing through the abdomen. You start to massage in to the feet, covering the whole foot, getting in around the heel, getting in around the ankle. And when you're doing this, notice the rest of your body. So you do start to feel uncomfortable somewhere, just move yourself. Just keep changing position as often as you need. So working the sole of the foot, working the top of the foot. Getting in around the heel, and around the ankle, and around the toes. Then when you are ready to, we're going to work each toe individually. So hold to the back of the foot with one hand, other hand pulls the toe long and circles the toe round, getting into that knuckle joint. And a few circles in each direction and then work your way across the toes. And then once you've done that, we're going to then work the webbing in between the toes with your index finger. Same as with the hands, come in from the sole of the foot for a few breaths, come in from the top of the foot. Work your way across the spacings, noticing if any of them are particularly tight, and if they are, maybe spend more time at that one. And you can always go back to it if there is an area that is tight. And then once you've done that, start combing the fingers through in between all your toes. And then can you get your fingers in between the toes so that you're taking hands with your foot? Pull all the toes long and wring the foot out. Keeping the fingers in between the toes, take the other hand away and then circle at the ankle. And then the other direction. And then easing the fingers out. And we will move to the other side. So trouser leg up if it allows. Massaging that oil in. Noticing how this foot feels in all the different places. Maybe check in with your posture. If you have started to collapse. If you're finding any tender points, you make sure that you're getting that long, slow exhale. Then when you are ready to, let's hold to the back of the foot with one hand, pull the toe long and circle around into that knuckle joint. A few circles each way and work your way across the toes. And then working the spaces between the toes individually, pressing into that webbing. Noticing on this foot, how does this foot feel? So quite often we're tighter on one side than we are the other. And if you're aware of which leg you have better balance on, notice how that foot feels. So is that foot tighter than the other foot? Are there more tender points on that foot? And if there are, on the leg that your balance isn't as good on, then you might want to spend more time working that foot. And once you've done all those spaces between the toes, can we start to work through and out? And then fingers in between the toes, pulling the foot long, bringing the foot out. Keeping the fingers between the toes, taking the other hand away and circle at the ankle. A few times in each direction. And then easing the fingers out. Okay, so I'm going to get into the lower back. Now, often pain in the lower back is coming from lots of different places. So we're going to work in around the hips, as well as in around the lower back, getting some twists and turns in. We're going to start with seeing how it feels today to sit with your legs straight out. So when you bring your legs straight out, can you sit up tall in an L shape? Now when you sit here, you might notice your back starting to pull, starting to ache. That could indicate that the problem's actually coming from your hamstrings. So if you let your knees slightly bend and that feels better, then the hamstrings are likely tight. So we will do some work around the hamstrings today. It's just a nice wee indicator of where you're at. I want you to lean over to one side, have your legs as straight as you can, toes actively pointing up to the ceiling, lean over to one side, and then we're going to bend the knee, point the toes behind, roll the calf out of the way, and then see if you can bring your backside onto the floor and then sit up. If this is not possible, you stay leaning over and maybe rock the hip from side to side. So if the way the thigh bone sits into the pelvis, if you're tight all round here, that can be pulling from the back of the body. And also be coming from the hip flexors at the front. Everything's pulling everything forward. So we will have a bit of mobilisation around the whole area. Let's bring the sole of the foot in and round to the inner thigh. Letting the knee move out to the side, noticing how close or how far away you are from the floor here. Can you press the sole of the foot into the leg so that you're not rolling onto the top of your foot? That's going to give you a better idea of what's going on at the hip joint rather than your body looking for that path of least resistance. Just take a couple of breaths here. If you need to lean back, you can lean back. And then we're going to bring the knee in. So to start with, sole of the foot resting to the inside of your knee and sit up. You can hold on to the shin to sit up tall here. This might be where you stay. You might bring your foot over to the outside of the knee. See how that feels for the back side, for the hip, for your lower back. Still holding on to the shin to stay upright. This might be where you stay. You might bring this top leg further over, just changing the stretch in around that hip. And you might still be leaning back and having a little wiggle from side to side. Gentle rocking movements can really help untangle any tension, as can that long, slow exhale to make sure that you're not holding your breath when you do this. Let's lean back and go all the way back to the first position. See if that feels any easier to come to here. And it's okay if it's not, if you're still working over to the side. If it does feel a bit easier to sit upright, can you then maybe take a lean forward? But the lean forward is with a tall spine, so it's the hip hinging at the hip rather than folding at the waist. Can you just shift the shoulders forward of the hips, keeping the length in the spine? Maybe move forward on the exhale if you are doing that. Then bring the sole of the foot round to the inner thigh. And again, see if you can stay upright here. You might, again, keep the length in the spine, have a turn forward. You might turn, take a twist, going round to one side and round to the other. You can do a little bit of all of it if that's okay. Movement in all directions is good. Then we bring the knee in. Choose where you want this foot, to the inside, out, or outside of the knee. And again, here we can wrap the arm round, come into a twist. And then take the twist the other way. And then back to centre. And then if you're bringing that foot further over, and again here, are we leaning back and just come into the upright position and back? If you're already in that upright position, how does it feel to take that lean forward with the long spine? And then ease that back, bring that leg out, so both legs are long. Can you maybe come into a seated position? This leg might now feel a tiny bit longer because we've opened up the joint and freed up some of the tissue around it. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Lean over, point the toes behind, roll the calf out, and see how this side feels. Your experience on this side may be completely different. Going to lean over, bring the sole of the foot in to the inner thigh. So remember, we're pressing the sole of the foot in, we're not letting the top of the foot roll out onto the floor so that we're getting this movement into the joint at the hip. And then bringing the knee up. So starting on the inside, take a couple of breaths here, see how that feels. Take the foot to the outside, see how that feels, and if it doesn't feel okay, take the foot back. And then taking that leg further over. And then going back to the first position. So again, if we are upright here, can we keep the spine long? Maybe have a little lean forward, or are we over at the side, rocking back and forwards? And then bringing the sole of the foot round to the inner thigh. And then here, again, we can stay tall, we can have it lean forward, we can do some twists, or we can have our hands on the floor, having a rock from side to side. And then bringing the knee in, foot either inside or outside of the knee. And then again into those twists. And maybe to the other side. And back to the centre, and then maybe take that foot further over. And if we can sit up tall here, can we have a lean, a little bit of a lean in. And maybe some twists here as well. And then back to the centre, lean back, lengthen that leg out. Bring the leg straight. Can we sit up? Hopefully your legs feel a bit more even. Does it feel more comfortable to be able to come into this upright seated position? So just noticing how that feels. From here, we're going to come over onto our hands and knees. So let the knees settle in underneath the hips. Bring the hands roughly under the shoulders. Nice way to set yourself is draw the upper arms in and then bring your hands forward to find the right width for you. And then from here, we're just going to send the tailbone back and then tuck the tailbone under. So we're just trying to move this lower part of the spine, keeping the rest of the spine long. And sending the tailbone out, a little bit of a dip in the back, and then starting to tuck the tailbone under. So not going into full cat and cow, just a little bit, sending out and tucking under. And then bringing it into a neutral position and send the hips back. Coming back towards child's pose. And then coming back up onto the hands and knees. And then you're going to shift one knee slightly forward, so about halfway between the knee and the wrist. And then start to send the hip back. So it'll be a little bit off centre. So you'll go more towards the front leg. And then come back up. Take that leg back. Bring the other leg halfway forward. And then can we start to send the hip back more into that leg, so you'll notice range of movement be different from side to side. You might feel this in very different places. Take it back. This time we're going to bring the knee forward towards the wrist and then edge back. So tiny bit of pigeon, but not going into full pigeon. And then come back up and switch the legs. Bring your knee forward, let the hips back, send the back leg back further if you can. And then bring it in and take it back. Then we're going to bring the legs forward, but cross the shin over. So I'm just going to show you that from the front on. So I'm going to bring my leg forward and then cross the leg back as though I'm going to be sitting cross-legged. And then sit the hips back. And then bring that up. Bring the back leg round. Bring it forward. Cross the thighs. Getting in a wee bit of a tangle here and set the hips back. Oh, goodness. So we sometimes do this position lying on our back. So we're just changing how we are positioning ourselves. Can we bring the back leg, bring it through, bring it in front? Can we set the hips back? Bring it up, and then one more time, switching the legs round. Bring that leg through, and can we set it back? So we're changing the way the gravity is pressing down into the different positions. We might feel it differently, feel it in different places than if we were doing this lying on our back. Let's uncross the legs and go back to child's pose again. Keeping the forearms in quite close so that the hips can really rest into the heels. Let the forehead come towards the floor, so really tuck your chin in as you're trying to make yourself as small a ball as you can. Take a nice deep breath in here. As you're breathing out, can you soften in? Then from here, you're going to back up onto your hands and knees, and onto the forearms. Start to edge the knees back, let the hips come down. You're lying on your tummy. Point the toes away. And then very slowly start to lift the face, the chest, press the forearms in. We're not coming up into a full cobra. Now I want you to check what's going on around the pelvis, around the lower back. If everything's just relaxed there, can we engage the backside, press the legs down so that we're creating some muscle engagement in the lower half of the body to support the lower back as we start to lift up. Can we tuck the ribs in so that the spine is long? Keep the breath nice and smooth. Imagine somebody's pulling on your head to try and make your spine a little bit longer, and somebody's pulling on your feet to make your legs a little bit longer at the back. Gently come back down. Lifting up again, so anchor the legs, engage the backside, lift the face down the chest, press the forearms in, keep the ribs tucked in. Imagine somebody pulling the head, pulling the feet, making you longer. Nice deep breath in here as you're exhaling, gently lower that back down. We're going to do that one more time. Anchor the legs, face up, chest up, forearms pressing in, shoulders are down away from the ears. Ribs are tucked in. Head going a bit further away from the feet coming a bit further away from the head. And gently lower that back down. Turn your cheek so that your one cheek is resting on the floor, and then just gently rock the hips from side to side. Take a nice deep breath in as you're doing that, slowly exhaling out. And then lift your face, turn your head, let your other cheek rest on the floor, and again rock the hips from side to side. Just noticing the difference when your head's turned from one side than it is the other. Bring your head back to the centre. Bring the forearms in. We're going to engage the tummy muscles and backside muscles as you lift the hips and ribs away from the floor. Edge yourself back towards child's pose. And then gently roll yourself up into a seated position. Now, if you have a chair handy, now it might be the sofa, it might be a dining chair. I'm going to wheel in. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing a chair on wheels just because it might roll away from you. But if you do have a chair with wheels, maybe jam it against the wall so it doesn't roll away from you. I just want you to find a surface, it might even be a coffee table, that you can rest your calves on. I'll drop this a bit more actually. So I want to be relatively close to the edge of your sofa or the edge of the coffee table or whatever chair you're using so that you can put your calves on, and then just let your lower back Rest down into the floor. Let your spine rest into the floor. Take your arms away from the body with the palms face up. Can we take nice full breaths into the lungs, feeling the expanse on the inhale and the release on the exhale. And can we let the knees drop out to the sides? So just letting the knees drop wider. So the knees are wider than the hips. And just taking a few breaths here. Just letting the spine melt into the floor. Notice your skull. If your chin is pointing up to the ceiling, can you drop your chin down? Then just let the knees roll back in so they're about hip width apart. And then you're just going to edge your knees a little bit closer to you. You're walking your feet along the seat towards the edge. And then you're just going to very lightly press the feet in to the edge of the sofa, the edge of the coffee table, the edge of the seat, so that your knees are closer into the belly. And just applying a tiny bit of pressure so that the pelvis can settle more into the floor. We're not trying to lift the hips up off the floor. We're just trying to put a little bit more pressure onto the tailbone. And if this doesn't feel nice for any reason, then let that pressure go. As you're pressing your feet in, your lower back might have marginally lifted away from the floor, so a very small pelvic tilt. That's okay that that's happened. And then can we let the lower back relax so release the pressure from the edge of the sofa. And then can we press in again, create that tiny pelvic tilt. Hold it for a couple of breaths. And then let it relax. And then one more time, pressing feet in. Creating that tiny, tiny arch in the lower back. Tailbones tilted. As we're pressing in, do you notice anything happening in your legs? And you might not notice anything. You might feel a softening of muscles. You might feel tensing of muscles. Just observing whatever it is that you feel. And then can you release that pressure. And then just bring your hands gently onto the shins or to the backs of the thighs, whatever's comfier to reach. And just very gently rocking the weight on the pelvis. So not a big movement here, just tiny wee movement at the base of the spine. Gently, gently. And then starting to come up into the lower back, so the movement's getting a tiny bit bigger. Imagine, if you can in your mind, all the discs in the back, almost like you're just trying to get them to loosen off. If you remember, maybe when you were a kid, or if you've got kids, those plastic snakes that were all in sections and they used to wiggle around, trying to do that with the spine. Moving up the lower back towards the rib cage, so slightly bigger movement. Starting from the tailbone, wiggling, trying to create some space, trying to create some movement in between each of the discs. Moving up the rib cage towards the mid back. And then up the between shoulder blades, so still having this kind of wiggle from the base of the spine up. Between the shoulder blades. And coming up. Right up. And maybe getting into the neck. And maybe starting to get a little bit of motion onto the skull. And then letting it slow down. And shuffling yourself away from your sofa so that we can bring your feet comfortably onto the floor. We're going to take the arms away from the body, have your feet about shoulder width apart. And you're just going to roll onto the sides of your feet as you slowly let the knees move over to the side. So I want you to think about the spine peeling one disc at a time away from the floor. Noticing where your spine tries to jump further up. And then as we're coming back, start the movement from the feet. We're coming on to the soles of the feet as we slowly lay the spine back down. Letting it go disc by disc. Maybe creating a bit more space in between each of the discs. And then starting from the feet as we go to the other side. Again, slowly peeling the spine away from the floor. Noticing if your body's trying to rush the movement. Another child's toy analogy, a slinky, and you get it feeling like it's sliding off like a slinky. And then slowly from the feet coming back up. Releasing the spine back down one disc at a time. We'll do that one more time each way. Check you're not holding your breath as you do this. Can you release one disc at a time? Where in your body are you feeling the pulls? Slowly back up. Last time over. Can you make this go any slower? Just where your body's trying to speed things up. And then same as you return to centre, how slow can you make the movement? And back to centre. Just letting the body rest there for a couple of breaths. Noticing the spine. Contact points it has with the floor. We're going to slide one leg out. so that the leg goes long. And as we do that, let's take the arms overhead, reaching both arms overhead while one leg goes out. Point the toe, reach the fingers. Flex the ankle, press the palms. Pull it back to the start position. And slide the other leg out, take the arms up overhead. Stretching away, point the toe, reach the finger. Flex the ankle, press the palms. Pull it all the way back to the start. Slowly bring one knee in towards the chest again. Your hand onto the knee or the shin. Slowly bring the other leg in. And just letting that rest in for a couple of breaths. And placing one foot down. Placing the other foot down. We're going to start to move into your relaxation. So bring in any blankets, pillows, bolsters, anything that you need so that your body can feel supported and comfortable for the remainder of today's class. And then deciding the position you want to be lying in, you might want to keep your knees bent and let your knees rest against each other, particularly if your lower back has been giving you bother. You might prefer to have the legs out long and have pillows underneath your knees to give the lower back a release, but have your feet wider than your hips, toes flopped out to the sides. Hands can be resting on your body or hands faced up away from the body, whichever feels more comfortable for you. Getting yourself settled in, and I will take you through the remainder of today's class. And then leave you here to take as long as you need in your relaxation. To check in from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes. And if having your feet elevated on the sofa was really comfortable, maybe that's a position that you put your body in. It can be really nice to let the lower back release and your legs elevated. You're checking in from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes. Does anything need to be moved or adjusted so that you can feel comfortable and rested for the remainder of today's session? Check in with your minds like we did at the start of today's class. How is your mind now? Have your thoughts changed at all? Then bring your awareness back to your breath. Does the breath feel any easier now than it did at the start? Are you able to get that long, slow, deep breath in? And I'll invite you to set an intention for the remainder of the session, for the remainder of the day or the week. An I am statement, so something positive, an outcome that you wish to cultivate more of in life. I am calm, I am focused, I am strong, whatever it is that you need. And say that to yourself 3 times with feeling, awareness and certainty. We're now going to take a trip throughout the body, allowing the mind to jump from one part to the next. And I'll do the sequence that we're more familiar with. So bringing your awareness into your right hand, into the thumb, second finger, third, fourth, fifth. Palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, armpit, waist, hip, thigh, knee, calf muscle, ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, right toes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Into the left hand and into the thumb, second finger, third, fourth, fifth. Palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, armpit, waist, hip, thigh, knee, calf muscle, ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, left toes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come to the back of the body and to the back of the head where it touches to the floor. Back of the head, right shoulder blade, left shoulder blade, the spine, right buttock, left buttock, back of the right thigh, back of the left thigh, back of the right calf, back of the left calf, the right heel, the left heel. And then move into the top of the body and starting at the top of the head. Top of the head, forehead, both sides of the head, right eyebrow, left eyebrow, eyebrow centre, right eyelid, left eyelid, right eye, left eye, right ear, left ear, right cheek, left cheek, right nostril, left nostril, upper lip, lower lip, chin, jaw, throat, right collarbone, left collarbone, right chest, left chest, middle of the chest, upper abdomen, lower abdomen, the navel, right groin, left groin, right thigh, left thigh, right kneecap, left kneecap, right shin, left shin, right ankle, left ankle, right toes, left toes. Have full awareness of your body and all the contact points it has with the floor. Have awareness of your breath and the subtle movements that happen with the breath. Awareness of body, awareness of breathing. The intention that you set a few minutes ago, repeat it to yourself again in that same short positive statement with maximum feeling, awareness and certainty. Relax all efforts and start to become familiar with your surroundings, the position that your body is lying in on the floor, any sounds that you can hear. And as you start to bring yourself round, when it feels right, start to introduce the movement into your body, moving your fingers, your toes, your arms, your legs, anything that feels right. And then only when you feel ready to, do you set yourself up and open your eyes, and then today's practice will be complete.